Hello, 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 hello. I know it's been a while, it's been ages. So first and foremost, bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour à tous. I am one of your hosts, Alistair. I'm co-hosted by
Beefy, your shit talking squirrel friend.
Yes, and welcome to What Now Radio. So it's important for today's show that our tagline be specifically repeated. This is a space where we talk about anything and everything. So keep an open mind because most likely you'll be offended. Now, we don't want you to run away if you get offended, but we want you to keep an open mind and bring in your discussions and talk and express. I think one of the things that's really lacking right now is to be able to see and understand another point of view without being offended, right? It's not the end of the world.
So
We go
true.
home to our lives and we still have to go to work and pay our rent and pay our bills. So spending energy by being offended, it's a little bit asinine, right? So that being said, hi.
I feel like everybody could live from the Boîte Noir tagline right now. We talk about anything and everything, and
Right.
we don't
And keep
necessarily
that in
have to
mind.
come to blows over it. We can all have different opinions.
That's right.
That's okay.
That's right. Let's acknowledge whoever is here. Okay, really quickly.
Shia Realty, that's Lena. She's got a YouTube channel too. Should check her out. She does I think she watches anime. Yeah.
From the logo, yeah.
Sadie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sadie,
Our
yeah.
spooky gnome friend. What's up, our spooky
Hi.
little gnome?
Oh,
Jonesy.
Jonesy, hello.
It's too early. People will come in. Look, housekeeping before we get into it. Let's talk about kind of what's been going on behind the scenes, because I know it has been a while since we have posted. I've been in Florida. I had like the entire month of June on vacation. It was fucking stupendous. To just completely unplug and disconnect. It was so good. And yeah, this past month I have been to the podcast, the YouTube channel. It's all kind of fallen second tier to, just stuff in the real life, taking care of myself, eating healthy, fitness. I quit smoking, just taking care of me. It's nice. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to get back to posting a regular schedule. And that's okay. Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
And that's 100%
at the end of the day, it's my choice.
That's right. That's right. And you make the best decision that fits you, right? But on your fitness journey, I think you're doing a great job.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think people even know. Alistair is actually my nutritionist and my fitness coach, and so we meet every week, and he tells me, how bad I did at all my eating, and
I keep you accountable, right? I keep you accountable.
True.
But because I have all the data in front of me, we have a report called a progress report. You're doing pretty good, my friend. I want you to know that. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I said to my dad when I was on vacation, because we had one of our meetings when I was down in Florida, and I said to you at one point, like, well, I'm on vacation. I'm not going to kill myself. And you took like a really deep pause and you kind of like took in what I was saying. And you said back to me, you go, is that what this is for you, Beefy? Killing yourself. Not eating like crap is killing yourself. And it's because it really was like I have developed such a life around food, and it's just it's I had a lot of bad habits that until you break them, you don't realize how much of a habit they are and how quickly it indoctrinize themselves into all facets of your life. It's like you meet friends, you go out and eat, you lay in front of the TV, you eat chips. It's like my whole life was almost absorbed around food, and I had to completely reprogram my brain.
And you got it, reprogram your brain. And frankly, it's not even your fault. It's just the nature of the beast. And to stay into context of today's topic, I think that's one of the reasons why everything is so polarizing, because we are all in our own little echo chamber of confirmation bias, right? And it's so difficult to break free of that because it requires a lot of energy. Do you see how it felt so unnatural and difficult for you to stick to that regiment? And it's the same thing when you're trying to broadcast and go out there and explore a different point of view, because it's so uncomfortably new that it's just uncomfortable, and you just want to go back to what's comfortable and hear the statements and the news that's comfortable to your ear, that feeds into what you believe it's true, right? And it's not even anybody's fault to be like that. It's the condition. I call it the human condition, one of the many human conditions. My brain is designed to seek like-mindedness, to seek community.
That's so weird you
And
point that out too, because in doing research for this, I noticed that too, that like, and not just beyond kind of what you're saying of like looking in comfortability and like-minded people online. Like I'm like subconsciously seeking out opinions that I agree with, but even the YouTube algorithm will push more content that aligns with your ideals. And
that's right.
so it almost to a certain extent seems like the only news or opinions out there are yours. And so
Right.
you get into this, like you said, echo chamber, I feel like is a really good word to represent it, to where
Mhm.
you're constantly getting opinion biases
Mhm.
and hearing all these same opinions and facts repeated over and over again, that when somebody gives you a different mindset or a different opinion, it just sounds so foreign
Mhm.
that you almost do become programmed to think a certain way. And I think today we'll be able to have a good conversation from
Yeah.
different points of view, and hopefully
Yeah.
hear from all of you about your opinions as well, and
Of course.
we can do it in a calm and respectful manner. But before we do that, what was your past month like? It's been a while. What's been up in the world at Alistair?
So when we were chatting behind the scenes, I was in Florida as well for work, and so just working and getting my ducks in a row for this international project that I'm trying to get off the ground. And so
Ooh, we're going international, baby. We're going big time. I love it.
it's not
Where
quite
were
big
you?
time.
Miami?
No, Sarasota.
Oh, you were right
And
by me. We could
yeah,
have
yeah,
met
yeah.
for
We talked
drinks,
about that. Yeah,
darling.
yeah. I was just there before you. Right, right, exactly.
Huh.
And a lot of the stuff, you can't do stuff remotely. Certain things you have to be there in person, and you have to look at what's going on, right? You have to be like, huh, interesting, right? Because but that's honestly all that's been going on, and planning around, because we were traveling again, partially for work, and this time taking the whole family. And so it's
That's right.
just,
You're going for like a whole month, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's just planning everything so the operation is still functioning when I'm not around. So it's I've just been working a lot, and in my free time, I've been doing pre-recorded content to give the illusion that I'm around when I'm not really there. Do you
Nice.
know what I mean? So it's been uh working, of course. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that, um I've been having moments of downness. I don't want to say depression, but moments of just feeling very emotionally weary. And
It's probably your body's way of trying to tell you, like, we're doing too much. Like, we need to stop and smell the roses.
no, I do that plenty. No,
Oh, okay.
it's because of the atmosphere. Honestly, it's the political climate going on, and
It's
feeling,
crazy. I mean, it's
yeah,
emotionally taxing.
it's emotionally taxing. And this is before the assassination attempt, right? So because in my family, as you know, I have Trump supporters, and
Yeah, she says it right here in the chat. It has truly been a hectic time
it
these past
really
few
has.
months.
It really, really has. But to point out again, to go back to my statement of the Trump supporters, I'm not saying that to really say, they're at fault, but it's because I'm also trying to stay into context of today's story. You know, in my in-laws, there are different point of views, and I think we are unusual. And the reason why we're unusual is because we're together all the time, so we constantly see the other point of view all the time, and I think that allows us not to see each other in a like a enemy, so to speak.
Hmm.
And because we're always in each other's presence, so crossing the line never really crosses our mind, because then you'll be hurting someone that you love, so to speak, right? And I
Hopefully, we can
think,
carry a little bit of that on today when we kind of dive into some of this
yes,
stuff.
yes, yes, and I
Like
think,
Spooky Gnome says, don't be punks. Stay and listen and gain some perspective,
and
y'all.
gain some perspectives. Yes, 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 of course, of course. And I think that's why the shooter, unfortunately, he was he had a different point of view than his family members, and they couldn't sit down and have a meal together. And it's like, that is so bonkers, because that's not even an in-law, that's like mom and dad and siblings, and they can't even, it's It's insane. It's gotten so
Well,
insane. But
even like the shooter's political background was divisive because there were some reports saying he was Republican and then he had donated to a Democratic Party. It was like even this gentleman who is so staunch in his beliefs that he's literally trying to murder someone. Even he was conflicted at times. So it just goes to show, don't be so what's the word, bipartisan. Like, don't put yourself so much into one camp that you're completely shutting off any other ideals. I almost like kind of put the blinders up when I hear somebody that is like so completely far in one side camp that they aren't even like open to new ideals. It's like, well, okay, you're just like, nothing is going to change your mind and you're not willing to have an open conversation. Like you are right wing or left wing or whatever, and that's just the way it's going to be for you forever.
Yeah. And that's also why the polls haven't really changed much, despite everything that's been going on. Is because people already made up their mind. I was kind of joking around with like the undecided voter. Ain't nobody undecided. The only decision they have to make is, am I walking to the polls or I'm driving to the polls? Decision. I mean, you have to think about the level of magnitude of craziness, and yet the needles hasn't swinged that much. It's still within the margin of error, right?
Boba brings up a good point here. He says, it's hectic, all right, and good God, the conspiracy theories are wild. They are wild. We will get into some of that.
Wow.
And the amount of finger pointing.
Within hours. Wild.
Yeah. And yeah, I do think there's a lot of that too. It's almost like there's like a little small sect in each side, on the left and the right, of people that are just fucking insane and, doing death threats and all kinds of stuff. And each side kind of points to the other to say, well, see, no, they're crazy. This person said this.
Yeah.
And then they point to the other. Well, no, but you guys, you're crazy. You said this. That's like, that's just a small sect. We don't have to all be like that. We can all have kind of nuanced opinions that aren't just black and white. Like, there is some gray here for us to meet up in the middle. And I really hope that's kind of what we're able to take away from all this. But we are getting late into the show. We need to dive into it already. Are you ready to jump in, as we say?
Yes, I'm ready to take a deep dive.
Well, it's a good point you bring that up, because I kind of want to just do things a little differently than maybe we're used to around here. I took a lot of time actually a couple of days ago, and I started working a script, and I was doing all kinds of facts and times and people and putting together a slideshow like I usually do, right? And then I realized, like, we all kind of know the story by now. Like, it has just, even if you don't follow politics, everyone has been talking about it. It's just been dominating news cycles. So I think for today, at least, in the interest of kind of being, expediting this, but also focusing more on what led up to these events and the aftermath and the facts themselves, I have a little clip here that kind of just, like, really quickly, for those that maybe aren't as familiar or don't know all the intricate details, it's like maybe 5 minutes. And it explains everything, like, way better than I possibly could. So I figure we could take a look at that and maybe pause along the way and offer some commentary. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. Well, let's check this out. This is just a really quick summary of the events that happened, done very professionally.
It's the 13th of July in Butler, Pennsylvania. Former U.S. President Donald Trump speaks at a rally. It's only days until he plans to accept the official Republican nomination. He's just minutes into his speech when shots are fired.
Take a look at what happened.
Oh, even seeing it now.
Trump.
You see, just like that quick tilt to the head he did literally saved his life. Like, we'll get into the exact facts of it, but just his whatever in his brain that decided to tilt his head in that one direction literally saved his life.
Yeah.
Got hit, but survived. Someone tried to assassinate him in broad daylight. Here is how it unfolded. By the time this video is published, new details might have emerged. It's a hot, sweltering early evening as tens of thousands gather here to see Trump. Pennsylvania is one of 6 vital swing states that will help secure the win in the next presidential election. Butler skews heavily Republican, and it is a blue-collar town.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, beautiful crowd.
He is surrounded by supporters.
He always has to acknowledge the size of his crowd, by the way. I noticed that with Trump. He goes, there's so many people here. Look at how many people are here. It just makes me laugh.
Most are sitting or standing in front of the stage. Some sit on the bleachers, center, left, and right. Trump's support staff and security, including Secret Service agents, are right at the stage. Behind him are 3 large buildings. On the roof of the building on the far left and on the far right are Secret Service snipers. They are constantly scanning the surroundings, looking for threats. They can be seen in this video filmed by a crowd member.
Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back.
Trump begins with his speech. Things seem normal. He turns to the right and points at a chart showing statistics on border crossings. At the same time, several people in the crowd notice a man with a gun on the roof of a building close by. It's too late.
Take a look what happened.
All of a sudden, bullets start flying. One even gets captured on camera. Another building, about 400 feet or 120 meters north of the stage. The shots are coming from here, on the roof. The gunman is 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. He is armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. The gun was legally purchased by his father. First, he apparently fires a round of 3 shots.
Take a look what happened.
Trump reaches up with his hand. The first bullet pierces the upper part of his right ear. He will later say that turning over to the right at that exact moment prevented the bullet from hitting him right in the head. He ducks down behind the podium, and within 3 to 4 seconds after the first shot, Secret Service agents swarm the former president and shield him with their bodies. Crooks opens fire again, immediately, with 5 more shots. Right before the first shot by Crooks, one of the snipers on the left roof behind Trump seems to detect the gunman and prepares to return fire.
Take a look what happened.
Some outlets report that these snipers killed Crooks, while the Secret Service confirmed its personnel neutralized the shooter. We could not corroborate that it was in fact these specific agents. The gunman also hit spectators on the bleachers. 1 man died, 50-year-old Corey Comprador. 2 others were critically injured. With Trump's microphone still on, we can...
It's so sad that Corey, I believe his name is, was actually a volunteer fireman. And from the facts that I saw, I believe he dove on his family to protect them and then got shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
so sad.
hear the tense exchanges among the agents.
Moving his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
About 42 seconds after Crooks opened fire, they confirm the shooter is down.
Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we good to move? Let's move.
They prepare to escort him to an armored vehicle.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, let's shoot down.
Watch out. Wait.
In about 75 seconds after ducking to the ground, Trump raises his fist. He is mouthing the words, "Fight, fight, fight." The resulting photos immediately travel around the entire world. The crowd starts to chant for the former president as he leaves the stage, bleeding.
So Bubba in the crowd is asking a question here. He's saying, did they ever release the exact type of rifle? So I'm going to put this in the chat so you guys have it, but it was a DPMS Panther Arms produced AR-15 with a 16-inch barrel, 32 inches long, and he had chambered 45 millimeter ammo.
Wow.
Just
I don't know
basically
any
your
of-
standard AR. Yeah, I'm not a big gun guy either, but yeah.
Baba must know that. Booba.
Trump is then rushed to a hospital.
Booba.
Later that night, he is flown to New Jersey.
Hey, Alicia,
He
what's
appears
up?
to be well. There are a lot of questions we don't have an answer to right now. Why were the
Oh, he was
forces
a
unable
retired
to prevent
chief.
the attack? Analysis on
victim.
X suggests that at least the snipers on the roof behind Trump were likely scouting for dangers further away, with this rooftop possibly falling into the responsibility of other law enforcement agents. We were unable to corroborate that.
Okay, so I'm gonna just cut it off there because that's actually
Yeah.
relevant to the first part that I want to talk about here, which is
Sure.
some of the failings that kind of took place from the Secret Service. Actually, here I'm gonna pull up a photo of this sniper that they're talking about. It's this guy, and it was actually one of my first questions, but I think it was a lot of the first questions because if you look at the footage, it almost looks like he sees the shooter through his scope and then kind of looks up almost just to, as they're saying, we're not sure if he's, looking at the buildings across or what, but in the moment when he appears to have the shooter in his sights, when he looks up from his scope is when the shots actually pop off. And so there's a lot of people calling into question, like, did this sniper hesitate? Look, I do kind of want to just contextualize this a little bit because I think that a lot of the rhetoric here might be a little unfair towards this gentleman and towards the Secret Service in general. These guys are asked to make life and death decisions in just like that, like a fraction of a second. And I think this guy, the sniper, maybe he did hesitate just a little longer than he should have. But again, like, put yourself in his shoes. Like, if he, say, for example, he shoots the kid and it just turns out to be like a fan with a telescope, for example, he could go to prison for the rest of his life for murder. I mean, yes, there is qualified immunity, but that doesn't always hold up. So, I don't know. Again, part of me is glad he was cautious to make sure he's not murdering an innocent person. But on the other hand, if he had just shot him, we wouldn't be here. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, first, do you know if he's getting death threats?
The sniper, I don't even believe he's been identified. I could be incorrect on that.
Okay. So I think it's a question of manpower. Let me explain a little bit my reasoning. So you have the president and every other ex-president who has access to Secret Service. The current president, I would assume, gets the most resources from the Secret Service. And so there were not enough people, not enough agents to go around to provide protection, because we have Obama, we have Clinton, to provide protection to all of the ex-presidents in order to cover every single blind spots. And I think this is just a case of not enough manpower. And so I don't think the Secret Service had this conspiracy of them to secretly to have the guy assassinated. I just simply think there's not enough bodies to close any gaps of blind spots. Now, in relation to people saying, look, there's someone there, he has a gun,
Hold on, because I want to just talk about what you just said about there being a shortage of manpower, because it's actually the Secret Service that puts together the security plan. So if there was a theoretical shortage of manpower, the Secret Service could have, bolstered those numbers. Like, they're the ones who put together this whole plan. So if the Secret Service felt they didn't have enough manpower, don't hold the event, or get more Secret Service, or rely a little heavier on local law enforcement, which they did. Okay. I know a lot of people are kind of pointing to the Secret Service as like that even being conspiracy. Like, there's so much conversation going on right now about these conspiracies and what's going on that even that has become a point of contention. And I think the conversation there is that I guess Jill Biden was having an event around the same timeline, and despite the fact that Iran had a current threat on Donald Trump with security being up, they think that they kind of gave Trump not only less Secret Service, but like what they're calling like inferior Secret Service agents, because I guess a lot of them are women. We're going to get into that, but I do think to a certain extent there was some failings in the Secret Service behalf, and I actually have a video here I kind of want to take a look at. It's not too long, but we'll take a look at what the Wall Street Journal calls out to be security failings at the rally itself.
So then in that case, everybody gets fired.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, is they're wondering why nobody has been resigned or been fired. A lot of people are saying, like, how come we haven't heard anything about disciplinary? Because that's the common consensus anyways, is that there were shortcomings, despite what the media was in the beginning. That was like all you heard was like great. Even the president, I think, the day this happened, that was like the first thing he said was like, "Great job, Secret Service." And now come to find out, there actually were some shortcomings. But let's take a look at what the Wall Street Journal is claiming here.
It's the Secret Service's biggest crisis in decades. How did a 20-year-old gunman climb a rooftop with a rifle and fire shots at former President Donald Trump from less than 150 yards away?
Shooters down. Are we good to move?
This is a colossal failure for the Secret Service.
The Secret Service isn't just responsible for the safety and security of the protectee. They're also there for the safety and the security of the people that are showing up to these events. So this is tragic all around.
Here's what we know about the security gaps that led to the assassination attempt on Trump.
Yeah, look, there he is.
In a video taken by a bystander shortly before the shooting, the gunman, Thomas Matthew Crooks, could be seen crawling on a roof as people were heard pointing him out.
Dangerous people.
Hang on.
We have criminals.
He's on the roof.
And a witness told the BBC,
the police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle.
but those alerts, if heard by any officers, didn't seem to make it up the chain back to the command center.
That's a massive communication failure. When I was overseeing sites, we would have Secret Service agents right next to police with police radios. If there's something that's going on, boom, everybody knows instantly. Quite frankly, if the detail had known there was an armed person climbing.
So Alicia's saying, I'm really surprised this was not all looked at, because in my experience, how thorough agents are. I don't know how thorough it was looked at, but again, the Secret Service, they developed this whole security plan and worked in conjunction with law enforcement, and they've delegated, actually here, I'll go back to this clip, but I just want to show this really quickly on this map. They delegated the area you see, the location of suspected shooter's body, that area, that was specifically delegated to local law enforcement, whereas the actual farm grounds proper was the responsibility of Secret Service. So they more or less took that area of the map and just said, local law enforcement, you handle that. And as you saw there, I'm sure everyone's heard this. So for people who already know, I'm sorry if you already, you're hearing this twice, but local law enforcement actually did briefly make contact with the shooter. People, as you saw in the footage, they were shooting, shouting out, there's this guy, you got to go see him. And a law enforcement officer climbed up onto the roof, and once he got up there, he was able to hoist his body up onto the roof. What's his name? Thomas Crooks. He swung his rifle around at that officer, and as soon as he did that, he dropped down because he wasn't on the roof yet. He was kind of hanging, and he actually broke his ankle from that fall. People were like, well, if you saw that, why didn't he do anything after that? Like, they were shouting out on the radios. There's actually like confirmed traffic from local law enforcement that there's a suspicious person, not just on the roof, but they saw him in the vicinity to beforehand. They called him out as being suspicious.
I see. Now, do you think, because apparently Butler is MAGA country, so do you think that because they felt safe because they were in an area that is so MAGA that they just didn't think, oh yeah, someone's on the roof, must be a kid wanting to get the good look. They didn't think so much about the threat because they just,
I don't know.
Home.
I can say that the way the Secret Service handles a former president is vastly different than a sitting president. Those two protocols are,
I would think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very different. I don't know. That's a good thought. You know what I mean? Maybe this is like we're home territory. You know what I mean? Or home field advantage almost. Yeah.
And also because of the human aspect, right? So I say that all the time, like our elected officials, our the police, we're all human and we have bad days. I have a cold, I'm tired. Oh my God, it's hot. What are you talking? I'm tired. Leave me alone, right? So there's a human aspect to it. So if you combine the human aspect with the fact that they are in MAGA country, then maybe you could be like, oh, there's someone on the roof. Yeah, it's probably a kid wanting to see the president. It's probably a fan, right? So
like I said earlier, a guy with the telescope.
Right. It could be that, right? So because I guarantee if it was like more in a hostile environment, maybe the alert would have been much higher. But because it was a
like I said too, security was heightened than what it should have been. That almost kind of makes me think like, well, okay, what would have been like if it wasn't heightened? Because Iran had active threats out against Trump. So I don't know.
I don't think the service knew that before
No, they
know
did.
that?
Secret Service knew there was a threat from Iran, not from this Thomas Crooks guy.
I see. Well, you know what? This is one
Climbing
of
up
the
on a roof.
Yeah.
They would have evacuated the president right away, no questions asked.
Beyond that, the Secret Service said it relied on local law enforcement to secure the building that Crooks climbed. Typically, Secret Service and local police operate together in concentric circles. Closest to the principal, in this case Trump, are teams of highly trained Secret Service agents. In the middle perimeter, there's usually a mix of Secret Service and local law enforcement who might cover portions of the motorcade and any pre-event screening. And in the outer perimeter, security largely falls on local law enforcement. In Butler, the building the shooter climbed was technically outside of the rally venue, and the Secret Service didn't sweep it.
It fell through the cracks, which still falls to the Secret Service because it means.
Sorry, just really quick. There were actually 3 police snipers inside the building that the shooter climbed up on top of that roof. The roof he was in, there were 3 snipers inside that building.
Yeah. Well, I also think that the shooter must have came to the location beforehand, like maybe a day before, a week before, to kind of have an idea of where to position himself.
Yeah, he was from the area. That's what they say about almost all murderers, right? Is that they do it in areas they're comfortable with.
Yeah. So he knew exactly. He was like, yep. So I'm sure the police.
Yeah, he brought a ladder with him. He knew exactly how tall the ladder was supposed to be. He had an explosive device in his car. He had this all planned out.
He had it all planned out. So even the police who was there to secure the building, again, the human aspect and the comfortability of the home, I guess the home turf, made people more relaxed, and it's hot. So you're like, oh, it's fine.
Nobody checked to make sure the plan was in fact implemented correctly.
Yeah.
According to the Butler County Sheriff, right before the shooting, a local officer climbed onto the building and saw Crooks, but dropped to the ground when Crooks aimed his rifle at him. In an interview with ABC News, the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle said local officials were inside the building when Crooks scaled it.
It's funny, we're saying the same thing.
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service.
There are also questions about why counter-sniper teams located behind Trump didn't take out the shooter earlier, even though they appeared to be facing in his direction.
Once the shooting started, they had rounds on target almost instantly. So that tells me that that shooter had come to their attention, and they were in the decision loop.
See him pick up his head.
The investigations into what went wrong will also focus heavily on what happened before the event even took place. The Butler rally was announced by the Trump campaign 10 days ahead of time, which experts say gave the Secret Service plenty of time to do site advance planning and potentially even eliminate the line of sight from the building where the gunman was perched to Trump's stage.
In this situation, you actually had an event site that was being built. So they're there to find out what the dimensions are going to be, what the stage is going to look like, where it's going to be located. And then based on that information, they are then looking at potential threats, including areas of high ground, and how to best mitigate those threats with the overall security plan.
So I would have fired that director. I mean, there's such a thing as like, oh no, that sucks, I'm so sorry, yeah, it's unfortunate, but don't forget that somebody else got injured, somebody else is dead, someone needs to take the blame, and the person who always takes the blame, especially when you're in an organization, is the leader. So it's the leader. So as much as she may not have a direct hand into what happened, but the blame has to go. And so if I was the president, no, you're fired, and whoever's on there, fired. Because
if it were me, and we're gonna hear from her again, that director of the Secret Service or Homeland Security, whatever it is, we're gonna hear from her again. But if it were me, I probably would have stepped down, if nothing else, just to kind of qualm the criticism, because they're getting blasted right now. I mean, social media, probably, yeah. It's not funny, but it's covering your face.
I'm saying that because of this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even to that point, beyond these failings that the Wall Street Journal is purporting there in that video, the conversation has now even shifted to whether or not women even belong in the Secret Service, oddly enough, to the point where Secret Service itself has become so insecure in the wake of this botch job. They're like, they're responding now to Twitter trolls making fun of these female agents. Actually, I hear a photo of one of the women that is in question. I'm going to play a clip here of some of what her. You guys have probably all seen her. She's having difficulty holstering her weapon. Yeah, people on Twitter are just having a field day with this girl. It's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
But that's the world we live in now. That's the trolls. That's the trolls, right? I mean, half of those people couldn't even handle the training that they go through, right? Because they go through intense physical training, mental training, and emotional training, right? So they can't even handle half of that, and that's the
wait.
What?
What do you mean they can't handle women?
No, I'm talking about the trolls. The people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute now. What are you saying?
No, I'm talking about the people making fun of her, like the trolls, the people online.
Yeah, because there's, I mean, let me just put the kibosh on that really quickly. Like, that's bullshit. Women can do this job just as well as men can. Perhaps, you know, I'm willing to hear the argument of perhaps these specific agents, the ones they're referencing, maybe they weren't as trained as they were, but just the fact that they're women means they can't do this job. That's
risking their life, for God darn sake. Like, how many of us can say, I'll take a bullet for you? Not me. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah. So it's absolutely crude and crass and stupid, right?
This picture was taken at the Republican National Convention recently, and people were pointing to the fact that because this photo was taken and now all the Secret Service surrounding him are men, is that even the Secret Service themselves are acknowledging, oh, we shouldn't have women in this position. And again, pointing back to these conspiracy theories, they're trying to say that, oh, well, because there were so many women on Trump's Secret Service team, the Secret Service was trying to get him killed. It's just, like, don't burn your head throwing your fucking tin hat hats on. Like, talk about reading between the, it's so preposterous to me. I don't know. Again, I don't want to offend anybody that might see that, but I just think it's ludicrous. But let's look at some of what we're talking about here with people calling into question women being in the Secret Service.
Donald Trump's son, Eric, is coming to the defense of the female Secret Service agents seen protecting the former president during the attempt on his life. The women agents have been taking heat since those shocking and chaotic scenes.
It looked like it would look like a bunch of sorority sisters who were
hung over. God.
One with a ponytail whipping around. She didn't know where she was going. The other one who couldn't reholster her weapon. Not one of these women inspires any confidence.
Seeing pictures that people are posting on social media pointing to how they don't look composed or they look panicked compared to men, and that this is the reason why there was a failure.
On social media,
it was fucking chaos. I'd like to see how they handled that situation with an active shooter. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, it makes me fucking angry.
Just to point out, these comments are coming from a particular side, and that particular side is attacking women's rights. So are we all at all surprised that they want, I guess, the girls to be behind the kitchen? Let me make something very clear here, because I cannot not take that a little bit offensive, because I come from a matriarchal society. I got here where I am today thanks to a woman, and I have a daughter, and I know this is the world that she's going to have to live in, right? And it's like, would you like to be told, if you're a woman, would you like to be told that you're less than, or would you like to be told you can't do this because you're a girl? It's awful, right? So that should never be okay. Period.
There's speculation that the women were too short to shield 6'3" Trump.
A lot of criticism towards the female agents. What do you think about that criticism? Is it deserved?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That female agent was on my detail when I had Secret Service for 3 years, and she's one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. The men and women on that stage did their job, and they did their job remarkably well, and they're incredible people.
We also spoke to Don Jr.
There's been a lot of criticism towards the female Secret Service agents who are out there. What do you say to the people who are saying, hey, he's got to be protected by men?
Listen, I saw one of the ladies look like a badass. She was great. She was in that scrum, a little short maybe, but the other was having a hard time holstering her weapon and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's all about the individual, right? In these moments.
Take the subject out.
Female Secret Service agents have long fascinated America. Actress Renee Russo takes heat from skeptical old-timer Clint Eastwood in The Line of Fire.
I've never worked with a female agent before. How many are there?
About 125.
Pure window dressing.
Melanie Burkholder is a former
Clint
Secret
Eastwood.
Service special agent.
There are
face you
performance
get.
standards. We have to shoot. We have to have physical training. We have to do all of the things and meet those performance standards to be on a detail.
What about the criticism of the female agents being too short to protect the tall president? Is that warranted?
I think it's such an awful comparison to say, you know, women don't add value to the Secret Service. Women shouldn't be in the Secret Service. They shouldn't be agents. Stature and height should not matter. The body was in front of the president. It was better than that.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe height is something to be considered. If she physically cannot shield, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really.
But that's a trained person with a gun. I cannot even protect. Like I can't. I don't. A regular person off the street cannot have the wherewithal to sit there in front of danger, between me and danger, right? So that alone puts you aside. This is a person who has a family, who has dreams and goals, and they put that aside to save your ass. And you know, it's completely ignorant to just even negate that simple fact. But truth be told, this is a non-issue because there are more complicated, more devastating issues at hand than can women serve in the Secret Service, right?
It's so true.
Again,
And honestly,
harping on this stuff that are completely irrelevant. Let me remind everybody, and to whoever is going to watch this now, today, or maybe next show, whatever, childcare is unaffordable. Healthcare is unaffordable. What are you doing wasting your time on whether a woman...
I mean, we're talking about a specific incident here, and even with the rhetoric going on about whether or not the Secret Service failed, I feel like they're using this whole conversation about female Secret Service agents to almost divert from the actual problem that the Secret Service fucked up. Like, I think Nassan even brings... he was talking about he says this woke, but there was an FBI commercial that was relatively similar to this where they were trying to essentially change the conversation away from their own failings. And I think to a certain degree, maybe that's what's going on here. At the very least, I think, like, why is the Secret Service responding to these trolls that are, you know, talking about women, but not responding to the actual, like, real claims people are making about the security failings? Like, you've been radio silent. And, you know, this, whoever she is, the woman that head of Secret Service isn't stepping down, but you're taking time to respond to Twitter trolls? Like, what the fuck? Like, where are your priorities?
Well, I can tell you they're probably not allowed to talk about it. They've been a massive mandate, probably internally. I'm just assuming, but this is something I would do. Don't speak to the press about the incident, period. Right?
Well,
there's a lot of stuff that happening behind the scene, I would assume.
Well, to that point, then let's hear from the head of Secret Service himself when she gets pressed on some of these questions.
Oh yeah, let's go.
No one swapped out any of the posts, for example? No. Okay. CNN, of course, has reporting that the Secret Service increased security for former President Trump because of a credible threat from Iran. You know, I've spoken with several people who look at the perimeter, hearing that news, look at the perimeter and say, how, knowing that there was a credible threat against the former president, how could that perimeter be so small that it excluded a building just 150 yards away from the podium?
I can't get into the specifics of any threats, but obviously with all of our protectees, we're constantly monitoring the threats that are out there, and we design our security plan based on that, also depending on the venue and the environment that we're in. And on that particular day, a full advance had been completed, but this is also why we are doing an internal review, and we look forward to the external review as well. And obviously, if you know, there are things that we need to change about our policies or our procedures or our methods, we are certainly going to do so.
Was that perimeter too small?
She sounds like a publicist. It's ridiculous.
No,
It's
but
like she's not even answering these questions.
They have to not answer it, and that's probably why the Secret Service.
Well, then don't take the interview. Like that's my thing. Like if you're just going to answer with a non-answer, don't talk. Like,
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. But for the perception that she's getting in front of the problem, you know, people vote and people react based on perception, right?
Oh shit! Sorry to interrupt you. Hyena's saying that she's being served a subpoena.
Oh, there it is. So I'm pretty sure Congress or someone higher than her in the government wants to have answers. So she's gonna have to answer to someone, which rightfully so. If I was president, she would be fired like literally the next day.
It
But
reminds me of like the murderers that are on trial and they take the news interview to put
Yeah.
themselves out there, and every time they're pressed on like, did you do it? They just use we're in trial, I can't talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then why'd you take the interview? Clearly it's just to answer the questions you want to answer to report your own fucking agenda. Like, don't do it. That's manipulative. It's gross. Like, if you're gonna take the interview, answer the fucking questions.
Yeah. It's
So,
damage
yeah,
control.
she dodges a couple more here. Let's check this out.
Procedures or our methods, we are certainly going to do so.
Was that perimeter too small?
The perimeter encompassed the area that we needed to secure for the event that we had on that day. What happened is a terrible incident and should never happen. And we are obviously going to make sure that moving forward, we take whatever lessons that come out of this and adjust accordingly.
Was every element, every part of his, from the intelligence to the counter assault team, to the detail agents, the shift agents, I mean, every element top to bottom of the advance in the operation, was every element increased after you learned of this credible threat?
What we increased was what we felt was appropriate for the former president and for that particular event on that day. We have been increasing the assets and the resources and the staffing that we have been providing to the former president since he was a
It just cracks me up. Like,
Yeah,
she's not saying anything.
No, she can't.
Shut up.
Also, don't forget, she's probably under legal advice to not say anything pertaining to this situation because that could put her in legal trouble, right? So she's smart to take the interview. She's smarter for not answering the questions because and again, she got subpoenaed.
Why is this? Wait, I'm sorry. Why is it smart to take the interview? Because we're roasting her. She looks like a jackass. How did this help her or the Secret Service by answering those questions like that?
By getting in front of the problem, the perception that she's not.
She didn't. She didn't answer any of those questions.
You're smarter than most, right? So most people wouldn't think like.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
Right,
I wouldn't give myself that much credit.
At the very least, you can say, like, look, I've gone out there and I answered the questions, right? So it adds more ammunition onto her belt, so to speak. I have experience with this. Not that I was ever sued and be told, don't say this, don't say this, but I've known people who have to come in front of panels, answer specific questions and not answer at all. But before they actually go there, they get briefed. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. This is out of the question. Got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say she sounds like a fucking publicist, like somebody that's gone through extensive media training to say something without saying it. It's so political.
That's right. I even, on a personal note, when my mother, as you know, when she went through a divorce, there's a portion there where her lawyer had to brief all of us on how to answer when she was getting deposed, and it was clear and simple: do not touch these. Don't talk about this, stay on that task. And we had to spend the whole evening being prepped the night before. And in the morning, it's like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, are you ready? I'm ready. And then at the end, you're like, did I do good? Yes, you did. Oh, good. Like, it's high stress. So I totally see what's going on.
I get it. Well,
she doesn't want to answer it. Smart.
At any rate, I referenced this earlier, but perhaps the most startling thing for all of this, for me, like beyond the fact that this just happened, was the reporting from some of the media. I think not just for me, but for a lot of us, this kind of really opened our eyes to how dishonest on both sides these media outlets can really be. Like, it's honestly kind of concerning for me. And I feel maybe in like a little eye-opening, almost you said earlier, like we're almost living in our own little echo chambers, that we're just trusting the media that's thrust to us without really doing the proper research.
That's right. There is, so I have to look at data for a living, and I have to guess people's opinion to decide how I'm going to write the contract. And a lot of the times what that entails is I have to look at past data and kind of guess. When you look at data or when you look at sources, you have to analyze the sample size. You have to analyze where the information comes from. It is not easy. It's not as easy as be like, who published this? You have to look at reference of reference of reference. There's a shortcut you can take by let's say if you get a governmental source, right? It's a little easier to trust that if that source is used unanimously across all board. So fine, Department of Labor data, you can somewhat kind of use that as reliable because it's used entirely. But I say all this to say is that the average person does not have the skill to deconstruct data and get the full picture, because
yeah, and so they see stories like this, like I'm about to show, and they just take it at face value. And seeing how, like, wait until you see some of these stories, how different it is from the actual facts. It's fucking startling.
President Biden sitting down with Lester Holt in a primetime interview on NBC tonight, just days after the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. But take a look at these headlines from the mainstream media downplaying this.
Look at that. Loud noises erupt. Oh my God. Loud. That when I saw that was the night it happened, Saturday. I texted like all of my family. I was fucking flabbergasted by that. Loud noises? Like, what the fuck are you saying? There was an assassination attempt.
Yeah. Look,
it's fucking crazy.
You guys, let us know in the comments if you can. Pause that really quick. What you were doing when you found out that the assassination attempt happened, and so Beefy, what were you doing when you found out the assassination attempt happened?
I didn't find out about it till like hours later. Actually, I was playing Elden Ring. And I think I was just done playing Elden Ring for the day, and I popped on YouTube just to kind of put on videos to go to sleep for the night. And there it was, Trump assassination attempt. And at the time, they weren't even framing it as that. I remember texting Nasan, actually, who's here. I texted him, and I even said like assassination attempt and question mark, because it wasn't being referred to that as it just said he'd been shot.
Yeah. So I was working and my phone was buzzing. It was my in-laws who were furious, of course. And when I was like, "What's going on?" and I opened the phone, and then that's when I found out that oh wow, someone got he got assassination attempt. Now, what was the first conspiracy theory that you noticed that you came across?
We're gonna get there, but it was trending on Twitter. False flag that he staged this. So it was ridiculous. Stevia's in the house. Hey, Stevia.
Stevia.
Watnar alumni.
Okay. Press play.
What took place? The Washington Post, quote, Trump leaves rally after loud noises erupt. That's not a joke. Neither is this. A CNN article that was taken down reading, quote, Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. Another article that was taken down from Forbes reading, quote, will surviving gunfire be Donald Trump's next appeal to black voters?
Joe Concha is a Fox News contributor.
I saw on Twitter that 50 Cent had posted like real N-word or whatever, and it was a picture of Donald Trump like posted on his album, and people are going to what's that song? The song that 50 Cent has about being
I don't remember.
Oh, many men. Many men, how they're all like taking attempts at him. Everybody in the comments of that YouTube video now is all about Trump. It's just ridiculous. But no, it's just startling. Like, all right, well, okay, so let me reiterate this just for conversation's sake, because I really want to dive into this further, right?
Okay.
I am not like a Trump guy. Last election, I was like vehemently against him. And back in 2016, when he ran the first time, I was kind of like all for like seeing the shit show of him getting elected. And just because I was dumb, I didn't care. I just wanted to like see the world implode, So I've literally been on both sides of this argument. I wanted to vote for Biden in the last one, and I would have voted for Trump in the first one. Forget who he is and what his politics are. This is a former president of the United States. Were this, say, Bush or Clinton or Obama, our country would like be at war right now. But because it's Trump, it was loud noises, or he fell down, or it's a stage thing. I was speechless when I saw that. Like, seriously, it was shocking to me that news outlets could be that disingenuous. Like, journalistic integrity, that used to be a fucking thing. And like, furthermore, right, I have seen a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of people saying, I wish he didn't miss. My own mother, my own fucking mom texted me the next day, too bad they missed, with a shocked emoji. I literally had to like put my phone down when I saw that. Like, so murdered. You're sad a former president didn't get murdered. I didn't think that this was a hot take, and I don't want to speak for you, Alistair, but I am pretty fucking anti-murder. Like, regardless of context, full fucking stop, period. Like, whatever you want to say. I'm pretty black and white about that topic. I didn't think that was a controversial opinion to be anti-murder. And so, like, for comparison, right? I want to take a look back to actually our own reaction, me and you's reaction, to the actual assassination of JFK back when we covered that case. Because I think it really speaks well to outside of the echo chamber, removed from all the politics and influences, what our opinions were about the assassination attempt on a president. Because I think it's very palpable and worth discussing.
Are you going to play it?
Yeah. Do you remember we did this episode?
I do remember. Yeah, let's look at me since you're the squirrel.
Yeah, let's take a look at old Alistair.
Wow.
Cue the flashback, you know.
Yeah, flashback.
I know, I wish I had waves to go across the screen. You know, the whoa. Back 3 weeks ago. When I first dove into this, I thought that the case files were very much going to revolve. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I gotta rewind just a little bit. Wow. Not so far?
No, I'm following. Yes, it's actually making me a little bit upset every time I look at him because Oswald seems, because he requested to be let free, right? And I'll like he just looked like he just went to the store, committed murder. I have a problem with people who deliberately inflict pain, like deliberately. Like when you wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm gonna get you. I have a problem with people like that. I don't believe in second chances with people like that. It just irks me. I just gets me angry. So now I'm following you, but I'm not liking him at all. I know he's still alive, and I hope he's rotting slow. Oh,
I gotta say, when I first I thought that the case files were very much going. But you say, oh damn. Why do you say, oh damn?
No, I can't believe I said that out loud. But yeah, I do feel that. I don't believe in second chances for murderers, people who deliberately do pain to others. I'm a little unforgiving with that. Even if you go through all the rehab in the world, I just don't want to know about it. Just disappear. Yeah, because I think to harm someone deliberately, there's so many steps in the process that tells you stop. And I think, we're all human. Like, ow, that hurts. Stop it. What are you doing? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I won't do it again. There's so many process that leads to you ending the person that in my mind, I'm thinking you're not normal. Clearly something is wrong with you.
Does your opinion on the matter, is it different now?
No. Absolutely. About the assassination attempt? No.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm glad they killed the shooter. Because
me too. I thought that same thing.
In my mind, no. And if it was anybody else, I don't want to say it out loud, but no. I think.
Well, I think you really said it best there, and I was gonna let that clip play on just to give my 2 cents, but I really just kind of more or less say that I was shocked by the real murder. And in fact, actually, here I'm gonna pull it up because I think at one point I even say, like, what if this was Biden or Trump? And like, it's crazy that actually happened.
You say that? Wow.
Yeah, here, hang on.
Wow. I wonder what
weird.
I said.
Yeah, but actually, yeah. I cut it off short. Let's take a look at that. Finish that quick.
I have a problem with people like that. I don't believe in second chances with people like that. It just irks me. I just gets me angry. So now I'm following you, but I'm not liking him at all. I know he's still alive, and I hope he's rotting slow.
I gotta say, when I first dove into this, I thought that the case files were very much going to revolve more around the conspiracy, or at least my script and the narrative of this episode would.
Right.
But I found myself really affected by this. And I guess I never really took in the full scope of what actually happened. Like, you hear about JFK's death and the assassination. It just goes in hand when you think about JFK.
Yeah.
But to actually pour in and put yourself in that moment, this was fucking nuts. Like, just I imagine, like, one day you get news Donald Trump had been assassinated, or Joe Biden.
No, I agree with you.
It's anarchy. Like, what would our country even do?
It's unacceptable. I mean, you don't have to. Like, it's unacceptable. I don't. Unacceptable, even for Trump. Unacceptable. Yeah. It's not,
you think about in the in the world, in the
Yeah.
history of the world.
Yeah.
There have only been like a handful of times where a sitting leader, like what, Julius Caesar. There were a couple I know in France during the Renaissance or whatever.
The king.
Yeah, right.
You could be laughing at
believe so,
yourself.
right? Wasn't
wait,
he?
Guillotine.
You know, you. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to take a look back at our reactions, completely out of, removed from all of the politics of this. But I really do think you said it best there, Alistair. Outside of this climate, even for Trump, it's unacceptable. Like politics aside, bias is unremoved. It's unacceptable. And so I think for anyone out there saying or did say, I wish he didn't miss, like the Tenacious D guy or whatever, they broke up because of this. He said, like, on his birthday, I wish Trump didn't miss. There's a lot of people out there saying that. It's not just a small sect of people. It's a very common sentiment of, I wish they didn't. I think I even saw on TikTok, there are people saying like, oh, we almost got him. We were just this close.
But
I think you really, let me just I had to get this off my chest. I think you really need to take a step back, people that are saying that, and really look inward as to why it is you're literally wishing murder upon someone else, and really try to like excise and work out those feelings, because they're just fucking toxic. Like, that's all.
Right. In the same token, I want to point out the importance and the equivalence of during Nancy Pelosi's husband assault, the same message was also being portrayed. During the January 6th assault on the Capitol, the same message was being portrayed also towards Nancy Pelosi and towards Mike Pence. And to go back to what you were saying, I think it's important that both sides, if your mind is, damn it, like you should be harmed, on both sides, reevaluate a little bit how involved you are and how consumed you might be into eating that news. Because I got news for you. The algorithm, social media is designed to find like
feed it. Yeah, to feed that.
The algorithm feeds that. And so even the perspective of how good the algorithm is because even the comment section, it's catered to what your algorithm says.
Yeah.
They never told you the full comment. The comment section is sorted based on the algorithm. How do you think the algorithm?
Yeah, you never seen the filter there, most relevant. It's not. What's the basis for relevance? What's relevant to you?
To you, exactly. And the keywords. And again, I wrote it down here. Do you want to know what the keyword is for? And it's going to be very sad. And please don't be offended. One of the key things when it comes to the Republican and the far right algorithm is negativity. So the more you curse, the more angry you sound, the more threatening you are, the algorithm categorize you in that section.
Yeah.
And again, I'll mention it more into my final thought. But even if someone is looking to entertain the other side of you, let's say if you're like, oh, I want to know what they're thinking, even for educational purposes, it will change your algorithm and it won't let you get out. And that's why a lot of people who are just curious to find out what's more ends up flipping on both sides, right? It's because the algorithm sucks you in. It takes a specific person to get out of that. And the average person is not like that, right? So, again, to stay in the context, if your idea is to harm, assault, damage, destroy, take a breather, go to the gym, get away from the news. Get away from the
go to
news.
the gym. Yeah, get that energy out somehow in a healthy way.
Anger into bettering yourself, like read a book or get a hobby, go to garden.
Well,
because you've lost it,
Even further still, I saw a lot of people claiming that this, like we said earlier, was staged or a hoax. There were a lot of trending topics on Twitter of like false flag and stage, which is fucking insane to me. Like, I don't like. Do you have fucking? You think this is staged? People died. Do you have fucking brain worms? Is your skull gonna fucking crack open and a giant space centipede is gonna fucking slip? Because clearly, a sane human being is not in control of the wheel anymore. Like, not only were there human victims, you think about were the plants willing to die for what, a media stunt? Because if you're not, you're basically accusing Trump of knowingly setting someone up, firing against a live crowd. and within millimeters, by the way.
Yeah.
The kind of accuracy you'd have to clip someone's ear, a gust of wind, or again the tilt of his head could have killed him. And you think he did that on purpose? Narcissist Trump, who you all accuse as being like self-obsessed, you think he's gonna risk getting shot in the head over it? And hold on, because let's just break this down for a second. So you decide that getting a headshot is going to, like Trump does, right? He decides getting a headshot is going to bolster support, which he doesn't need, by the way, because he's ahead by almost all of the polls by a large margin. But okay, he wants to even.
That's not true. He's not ahead by a large margin. It's still within the margin of error. Despite what happened again at the beginning.
Anyways, all right. So, anyways, he wants to bolster his lead or whatever. He wants to get ahead in the polls. You hire someone to shoot against the crowd and you do know there'll be injuries, even if it's planned. Like there's still going to be straight fire. And even if you plan this the most meticulously intelligent, there's still going to be at least 3 or 4 people that know about this plan that you're going to have to risk or just going to keep quiet. So you're literally staking not just your political future, but your future outside prison. Because if any of those 3 or 4 people talk, you're going to prison, no doubt. And if anyone would know that, it's fucking, 67 or whatever indictments Trump. He's terrified of going to prison. So you hope that these people are going to keep their mouths shut. You say F it to the victims with the stray bullets, casualties of war. You risk your own life with this extremely precision shot that even an expert sniper would tell you was within millimeters of accuracy. And the final piece, the person you pick to execute this fucking plan is him. This guy. This is the guy you hire to execute such a precision shot. Get the fuck out of here.
But that tells you a little bit as to why it takes so little to inflame people, why it takes just one word to make someone enraged. It's because there is a tremendous amount of fear-mongering, 1. And 2, people have lost the ability to just worry about your own backyard, right?
Yeah.
It's this pressure to impose your views on someone else. And it's this thing like, oh, okay, well, surrogacy, well, I don't believe in it. Therefore, like it's this never-ending pressure to prove people that you're the smartest, you have the most money, you have that. And there's this fear, because the people who say this was a hoax, the people who say that this assassination attempt was like a false flag, it's because they are so afraid of what their perception of their life would be should Trump win, that they've lost any sense of rationality. Everybody is on edge. Same thing to people who are like, oh my God, Biden is kill babies and stuff like that. Or like Democrats, they are the whole QAnon concept. It's because they're so afraid. Fear-mongering has been the root of all politicians. And, you haven't seen a politician who does well that tells you, oh my God, I will like
everything's great.
Everything's great. Name me one. It's because negativity, and again, I'm a molecular biologist by trade, and I'm going to tell you, it's not even for debate, I'm telling you, negativity is an evolutionary adaptation. Your brain is programmed to capture negativity because it needs you to remember.
News outlets do the same thing. They say, like, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Like, they say that all the time. Fear-mongering is a term that was coined from the news.
Right. But in your brain, because you need to remember what's negative, because remembering the negative protects you in the future.
Right?
You follow?
Humans love drama. Well said.
Humans love drama. And so they play on that. And again, I really, really encourage everybody, at the end of the day, if you're not sure what the hell is going on, right, just know the 4 walls of your home and your own life, work on that. Because if the people really loved you like you think they do, they will give you affordable healthcare and affordable childcare. That doesn't exist. Right?
Well, to that point, and I know you don't have a lot of time left. I do think, and we talked about this a little behind the scenes, I do think we collectively need to kind of come together in unity as a nation and kind of like listen to our president. And as much as I give our former president the same due, if he was a president, he's owed that respect. I will give that same respect to our current president in response to this. Let's face it, U.S. It was devastating. It was a U.S. history event. It was a historical event, right? And in the wake of that trauma, we're all collectively processing. What do we always do in the face of these huge monumental events? We look to our president for guidance, and I will do that. And I will let Biden have the final say in this, and let's all calm down. But I want to take a look at one more clip because I know you have a pretty hard out here pretty soon, but I want to just watch one little quick thing of how chaotic and how extreme this is going. And we've seen a lot kind of from the right wing's perspective. So I kind of want to show a little bit of the narrative that's out there from the right, because I think it's extreme on both sides. This is just an example. So it's not that I'm saying like, oh, this person's crazy or oh, that person's crazy. This is just one example. But I thought it was very telling and very adept of the climate and the narratives that are being reported on both sides.
Police officer responded in a meaningful way during this whole process before the shooting started. According to Associated Press, a local police officer heard all these people yelling about someone on the roof. Reportedly, the officer climbed up on the roof, at which point the gunman pointed his rifle at him. The officer dropped back down, retreated, and the gunman quickly began firing at Trump. Now, it's not clear why the officer didn't alert Secret Service or why he didn't engage the shooter immediately, which is what he should have done, or why he wasn't on the rooftop to begin with.
He did, and he tried to
Late
climb
last
up.
night, NBC News reported that, quote, the roof where the suspect was located was a well-known high-priority vulnerability. It was identified just the day before during a security walkthrough.
Oh boy, Matt Walsh.
Well, that obviously makes sense. You'd have to be blind to miss the rooftop. I could have brought my 4-year-old daughter to that venue before the event and asked her to point out security vulnerabilities. And after I explained what a security vulnerability is, we would have identified the rooftop as a primary area of concern, which raises an obvious question. Who exactly is responsible for the willful decision to leave that roof unsecured?
Who is this man?
Make that decision. And also, crucially, why haven't they already been publicly fired?
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
There are only two plausible ways to explain how this would-be assassin managed to take a position with a direct sight line to the stage only 150 yards away. It's either the grossest, most extreme kind of incompetence and negligence from the Secret Service that we've ever seen, or they were in on it. I mean, those are our options. There are no other options.
The devil did it.
The man who was killed, a firefighter named Corey Comparator, would be alive if the Secret Service expended the minimum possible amount of effort to secure this venue. Donald Trump and those two other rally goers would not have been shot. So what that means is that at this point, every conspiracy theory, quote unquote, is on the table and will remain on the table indefinitely, most likely, because we'll never be told the full story about the shooter. What we know is that Trump has two factors working against him. First, the federal government, to include especially the agencies tasked with keeping him safe, hate his guts and want him destroyed. And second, the federal government, to include especially the agencies tasked with keeping him safe, has been hollowed out and rendered totally incompetent by DEI hiring practices. And I'll get into that more in our closing monologue today. But the point is, we simply can't rule out them trying to get him killed again or accidentally allowing someone else to do it.
Oh my
Donald
God.
Trump is in grave danger right now, still.
He's in
And it's clear
grave
the Secret
danger.
Service is not up to the task of protecting him.
They're trying
Whether
to
that's
kill
because
him.
they don't want to or they can't, or some combination of those two. This is a national scandal, obviously. The only thing more third world than imprisoning your political opponents is making them fear for their lives every time they go out in public. And that's where we are. Remember that just a few months ago, several Democrats tried to introduce legislation that would strip Trump of his Secret Service protection entirely. The idea was that as soon as he was sentenced to prison, he'd lose his protection. This was all a big joke on MSNBC, but the intent of it was very clear. They wanted to use lawfare to ultimately cause the death of Donald Trump.
Oh my God!
In some instances,
can you believe he's saying that? Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
And I know you want to say something, but there's just one more part here I want to take a look at, and then we'll wrap up.
There have been many calls for unity in the wake of the shooting. Trump himself has said that he's going to rewrite his convention speech to focus on national unity. That makes a lot of sense as a political strategy. It's certainly the right move in a presidential campaign in response to an event like this. That's the right thing for him to do. But can it actually happen? Can this country be unified now? Is there any chance that we all come together and put our differences aside now that we've come so close to chaos, now that the thin veil was very nearly ripped to shreds? The answer, I'm afraid, is no. That's the conclusion we come to if history is our guide, and it should be, because as I said at the beginning, we are living in history. We are not at the end of it. And history shows us very clearly that when political tensions eventually lead to political assassination attempts, things don't just stop there. The tide doesn't come to a screeching halt. The factions don't pull up short and say, oh, geez, maybe this has gone a little too far, guys. That's not the way this has ever worked.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not history's great exceptions. It's high time we admit that to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What this means is that the forces which, at a minimum, set the stage for this, the forces which have demonized Trump and the movement he stands for, the forces which have tried to destroy him in every possible way, the forces which have actually destroyed many normal Americans, far less powerful and prominent than Trump himself, those forces are still at work. They are still scheming.
They're still trying to get him.
They're still plotting against Trump and against you. We can't unite with them. The only national unity to be had will be had in their defeat.
Oh my God.
They must be defeated. That is the only way. Trump was right in what he said on stage after the shots rang out.
Hand them
with blood
knives,
smeared
you
across
might
his
as well.
face. He didn't shout unite. He shouted fight. And that's what we have to do.
Fuck
now
off!
more than ever.
Well,
can we come together in unity? Can we calm down the atmosphere? The answer is no. It's impossible. So why even try? So just go out there, my little underlings, my little Matt Walshians, my little right-wingers. Go out there and do whack jobs and cause chaos, flip cars, kill each other. My mouth was fucking agape watching that. And he has tons of views. Actually, I'm not like, I kind of like Matt Walsh sometimes. A lot of his stuff is a little fucking extreme, but there are times where like he's not that bad. But when I saw this, it was like, what the fuck?
but you know what, Beefy, to be real, I don't know this guy. First time I see this guy. I don't know how many followers does he have, but you know, the resonation, this is what people believe, really, on both sides. And that's why the fear mongering, right? The entire video was a fear monger. Like, you must destroy the other side or else you will be destroyed. It's a tactic used to brainwash people, and people fall for that because fear is scary. The unknown is scary, and people want to live quiet lives. They want to go to work, provide for the family.
You think that like the violence should be an eye-opener for a lot of us, and not just because of the news and the social media, but because of the extremes some are willing to go in the name of politics, like this fucking jerk-off, Crooker or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had my finger on the pulse of this election more than like any before, just because of like the theater of it, and now like, how can you not?
Yeah.
But like, I think, as we always say in this channel, and just to kind of circle it back and bring everything back to what we started here, we can talk about anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to come to blows over it. We don't need to call each other names. We can still respect each other and be friends. And now more than fucking ever, we should be respecting each other's opinions, regardless of whether or not they agree with our own. Like, step out of that fucking echo chamber, take off the blinders, and just calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
But I know you have a different opinion, so I'll let you take it from here.
So, you know, I would actually suggest, because I think, so let me just be very clear. I don't think we will have a civil war. The institutions put in place are pretty robust to prevent lunatics to pick up guns and start shooting people. So that's not going to happen. Everybody can relax and sleep at night. The second thing is, I do agree with Matt Walsh in terms of unity at this moment is not possible. And the reason why is because the fundamentals, the foundation.
He agrees with Matt Walsh.
On that aspect. Yeah.
Can somebody clip that?
Yeah, and the reason why is because the fundamentals of both sides is so different that it's impossible to find a common ground. It would be different if the common ground was not the foundation that was different. I give you an example. as a naturalized American, what do I want? I want to have a good life. I want to be able to provide for my daughter and have a future for her, right? This is something the other side should also want. But the problem is that we can't even see eye to eye to that, which is the basic. So how do you expect, if you can have the basic of like wake up in the morning, go to work, go work in the morning, if we can't even see that, then how do you expect us to agree on childcare, healthcare, supreme justices? We can't agree on anything because the foundation is so different. And sadly, honestly, this is what makes me very sad, is that you could learn so much from the other side, whichever side you are on, because they're also people and they have lovely brains and they have lovely experiences and they can teach you something, right? You can learn a lot from the other person, but we miss on the opportunity. And the solution to that, because that guy Matt Watch didn't give a solution. My solution, honestly, put your pen down, take your social media, throw it away until the end of the election. It's going to reset your mind and bring the anxiety down, because the anxiety is real. People are stressed out. Take a deep breath, go garden, go out for a walk, go hang out with your friends that you haven't seen in a while, because we're also going through a loneliness epidemic. Go face to face with people. What are you want to do today? I'm really an introvert. I don't feel like it. All right, just lay there in the corner and let's just stare at the wall together. Do something as stupid as that. Stay away from the news, because it's only going to be negative. There will not be anything positive on the news until even next year. There won't be nothing positive. Why torture yourself? Why?
So High Realty is saying Trump is going to speak tonight. He's definitely going to call for peace and unity. So why is that so hard to believe? We really do need that.
I can give you a quick answer to that. And the reason why it's so hard to believe is because he hasn't done that, right? And so because so people assume that after the assassination attempt that his rating will go up, and the reason why it didn't happen, the reason why it's still within the margin of error, is because nobody's giving a petty vote. There's no petty vote. So even though the incident happened is absolutely disgusting, that's not enough to sway people's mind. To people who are maybe on Biden supporter, or oh yeah, I'll vote for Trump because he was an assassination attempt. No, it's because the essence of his character does not align with the voter. That's why. If he had done the unity way before the incident, sure, but just doing it now, it does not erase what happened last week, last year, in the past few years. It's like the murderer, Darrell Brooks, coming back and be like, oh, by the way, guys, I'm a changed man. I found religion, right? Didn't he say that? We didn't believe him. We didn't believe him. I'll give you another great example. During the January 6th situation, and you may not believe it, not you, Realty, just whoever is watching this, but you may not believe it, but the January 6th have turned a lot of the GOP voters who were for him, turned them off. And not even acknowledging that, not even saying, all right, yeah, that was wrong, right? Because remember, everything he said, people remember that. The independent voter, they remember all that stuff, because that's who's going to decide the outcome of this election. It's not the bases. The bases are pretty set in stone, right? If I was Trump, and if I was not so full of myself, right? Because this is my opinion, I do think he's a narcissist. But if I was him and I wanted to fool people into voting for me, this is what I would have done. I would have started the unity aspect way before. Way before. At least lie to me. Try to lie to me, right? Because this speech today, what's going to happen? Yeah, his base will love it. But nothing with your base, nothing changes, because that's your base. You don't have to work so hard about it.
Well, I think you're misunderstanding the message a little bit from both the president and the former president. I don't think they're necessarily saying in the terms of unity, like, oh, we all need to come together and stop, debating and having these conversations. That's really not what they're saying. And I think what they're calling for is the same message that I'm trying to preach here, is that we can still have our debates and have our discussions and have disagreements, like we always say. We could talk about anything and everything without coming to blows. The unity they're referring to is, we can vote whoever we want to, and like Biden said, he said battle box, but he meant ballot box. Hash it out in the ballot box. Let the politics speak for themselves without letting things come to blows or having
Yeah.
shooters. And
Yeah.
you can still love your neighbor if they're a fucking Trump supporter. Just because your girlfriend votes for Trump, you don't need to break up over it. You don't need to punch some guy in the face because he's wearing a fucking MAGA hat. Like, just calm the fuck down, everybody. And so that, I think, is the message they're trying to report. It's not necessarily that we need to, calm down our political opinions or shift our ideologies or any of that. No, I very much think they're going to say, we're going to argue and we're going to debate, but let's do it in a safe and respectful manner. And with that, I will give you the final say with our final thought.
Absolutely.
The final thought.
I thought we were going through a final thought. No, I agree with you 100%. And I think Beefy also, I don't know who's going to watch this. Maybe we'll make it to the news, CNN and Fox News and whatnot. But listen,
I wouldn't count on it.
I don't think so. So our reach is pretty small. But whoever watches this,
yeah, we always get at least like 100 views. You think about, you put 100 people into a room, that's a lot of people. So what you're about to say right now has an effect on a lot of people.
I do agree. I think at the end of the day, the fundamental of us being human and wanting to live good lives is still very real. And that should be a common denominator. The second factor is that just like you may not want someone to tell you how to live your life, people don't want to be told how to live their life. So the preaching aspect of it, put that aside and keep it to people that want to hear it. And the third aspect, right, is don't we all want to have comfortable lives? Yeah, we want to work and make a living, but don't we want to, like, I don't know, go to the beach and have fun, right? These are the three principles, really, like the right to happiness. This whole, if anybody tells you and starts selling you on negativity, I'm serious, like, oh my God, be careful. Anybody who starts telling you of negativity, pay attention. It's a red flag. People who don't answer your questions, it's a red flag. And my suggestion to you is just put everything down. Go on vacation. Oh, you can afford a vacation? Sure. Turn around and look at the wall. Oh, you can't afford that because you have screaming children? Take your kids and go for a walk. Okay, you can't walk? Crawl. You can't crawl? Swim. Do something else than listening to the negative news. There will be nothing positive on the news until the end of the election and beyond.
You can even still follow politics without being, so subjected to all of these, like we're talking about, negatively implied, like the algorithm feeding you all this negative stuff all the time. You can turn off YouTube and Facebook and still, watch ABC News and watch the debates and watch, Biden or Trump speak or whatever. You can still, have your finger on the pulse of the election climate and the political climate without necessarily feeding into that algorithm of all that negativity.
Yeah. And also, not for nothing, the real power in the United States government is not the presidency, it's Congress. So whoever wins the presidency, it doesn't really matter because whoever holds Congress holds the balls of the country. So all of this ruckus, all of this like Trump, it's for nothing. Because if he doesn't control Congress, you control nothing. And if go against to my point, at the end of the day, go put your vote, go home, and focus on your life and be happy. That's it. That's it. Of course, people will throw tomatoes, but we are an influx. We are in an inflection point. Of course. You can't make everybody happy, but we are at an inflection point, really, in this country where we've lost the ability to just mind our own business, and we lost the ability to, be happy for the neighbor and focus on you. Beefy, what's your
in
hobby?
that regard, I think everybody here in our chat has been very respectful, and there have been some great opinions from both sides, and all of you guys have been really great to chime in. I've been reading all your comments, so I know we haven't had a chance to get to all of them, but I want to thank all of you guys for coming here today and being respectful and hearing us out. And, even Alistair and I maybe don't see eye to eye in all this stuff, but we were certainly able to have a respectful conversation. And I don't think we lost any respect for each other because we disagreed. Did we?
No, Beefy.
I still love you, my brother.
Listen, people that don't know this, I say no 90% of the time. Like, I don't get along with nobody, really, if you put it in perspective, because my first reaction is no. And then I think about it and I say, yes, I mean that so wholeheartedly. So no, but
Oh, you never say no to me. Every time I ask you to do something, you're like, I'll be there 100%.
Well, listen, it's because our interests align. But like today, for example, you know how you send me that text? I told you, I said I don't think so. Right? So,
Yeah.
so if it's a no, it's a no. And if it's like,
just to give people a peek behind the curtain, is what you're talking about. I sent Alistair my script, and I asked him, like, hey, for your final thought, can we kind of just like try to put a message together about unity? And he was like, oh, hell no, darling.
No,
I don't fucking think so.
Yeah, because I don't believe it. Like that's what I mean. Like, if I don't feel it, it's a no. And if I'm not sure, it's usually a no. And I think about it and I say yes. And so I tell this to say that I get along with everybody. I really do. And unless you interfere with my safety and how I make my money, I can sit down and have a conversation, and we can eat lunch, and we can go to the movies. We can have a good old time, because at the end of the day,
I think that's a good example of it too, because like even though we had differing opinions, we were still able to kind of come together and find a middle ground, even though we kind of disagreed. And so maybe try a little of that.
Yeah, and even if we didn't, I still giggle and be like, all right, well, I say no, you say yes. All right, what are you doing later? Right? It's there's no
potato. They still make French fries, motherfucker.
Yeah. It's so easy to be nice, because at the end, just be nice and be gentle and be considerate, and everything else will fall into place. If people were just that, and give everybody the room to have the margin of error to be themselves, and my spirit, I should say, it's not my spirit, but my sixth sense is telling me, higher realty L. I don't know how you're feeling right now, but regardless of how you're feeling,
dance if you want to.
Yeah.
Oh, Jonesy, we missed you too.
No harbored feeling at all, right? Because I can pick your comments here, and I glance and I see them. I embrace you, because you as the essence of who you are is much more important than everything and then all that mess. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, just don't hurt me. Don't take my money. Then we're friends. That's it.
I don't think that's gonna happen. All right. This has been great. Thank you guys so much for coming out today and hearing us out and not going crazy in the comments. And we're all good. We all love each other. All lovey, lottie-dotty. With that, Alistair, can you do me a favor and please take us home, my friend?
Still flustered. I'm blushing. Can you tell? No, you cannot, because you can't tell from the skin color. Oh, come on, it's a joke. Relax. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching.
You can't see it. I am throwing tomatoes furiously at my screen right now.
Of course, like, subscribe. Yes, it's been a while since we've done this, because the schedule has been completely crazy.
Yes, and actually, to that point, before we go, Alistair, you're going to be on vacation next month, so we will try to do another live stream soon, but no promises. Bear with us. It's summer. You know what I mean? Like, we're busy. What do you want?
Yes, definitely bear with us. And also, it's two schedules that we have to manage, right? Because Beefy is a busy man, and I'm just a father, trying to raise a daughter. So, we're just juggling all the schedule. I'm sitting here talking too much.
No, we'll be back soon.
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thanks so much for coming. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
End transmission.
Thank you for watching.